Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And on this week's Flicks of the Week, I'm going to give you all the best Christmas movies you can watch across all the major streaming services. That's right, this week is dedicated to Christmas movies, and believe it or not, there are a couple of horror movies on this list as well that are Christmas themed. But let's go ahead and start this list off with HBO, with one of my top picks from the entire list, and it's one of the lesser known Christmas movies, or at least more obscure Christmas movies you could watch. It's called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Now this one stars Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer. Now this is not a Christmas movie. It's rather sort of this neo-noir detective thing. It's very witty, it's very fun, but it takes place in Los Angeles during Christmas. They're at a gigantic Christmas party at one point. They're at multiple Christmas parties, actually. So this, again, not a Christmas movie, but definitely a good one to watch during Christmas. It's one of my favorite movies on this list, regardless of the Christmas theme, and it's one of the better recommendations because I know so few of you have actually seen this one, but it really is one of the better movies on HBO right now. Jack Frost is also on HBO. This one stars Michael Keaton. Spoiler alert, he dies in the beginning and comes back as a snowman to play with his son. Not a very good choice. Not a terrible one, but just kind of weird and a real downer of a movie. If you're really just hard up for one that you have not seen before and you want to watch a Christmas movie, you could go with this one. I'd stay away from watching it with really, really young kids because, you know, the dad dies in the beginning. Four Christmases is actually better than I thought it would have been. It's Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon. It's funny. It's your typical little rom-com couple finding each other again type of a thing. I think a lot of people can identify with this one because so many of us have to bounce around to so many different families and interact with so many different family members we wouldn't normally interact with throughout the year. So it's relatable for that. And there are some funny jokes. Jon Favreau plays a really funny character, kind of comes out of nowhere in this one. I liked it enough to recommend it here, but it's certainly not a top Christmas pick for me. I've actually got quite a bit on Amazon Prime and Netflix, but before we get to that, on STARZ, they actually have Home Alone 1 and 2, and as far as I can find, it's the only place where you can currently watch those unless you want to rent them. Now, these are obviously great. I don't need to linger on the movies, but they're really great to watch at Christmas. Nostalgic, again, for people in my age bracket. Good enough for kids to watch. Kids today should still get a kick out of these. If it's been a few Christmases since you watched them, they're great. It's got a great sort of Christmas message, Christmas spirit, heavy Christmas themes. It is a great, great movie to watch at Christmas. So much so, I honestly feel like it'd be really odd to watch these outside of Christmas. That said, I'll be watching them with my son during Christmas, or maybe not. Maybe he's a little too young, because man, Joe Pesci, as much as I love Joe Pesci, he could be horrifying in these.
You'll find me with one more can cake, and I'll snap up your cojones and boil the motor oil!
Maybe he'll wait a couple of years, but if you plan on watching Home Alone this Christmas, if you watch it every Christmas, like I know a lot of people do, let me know in the comments below. But speaking of those comments, if you like this sort of content, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon because you'll get notified when I put new videos out just like this one. But Shudder has Black Christmas, which is one of the best Christmas horror movies ever made. Now you might think, oh, that's a small collection of movies. No, it actually isn't. There tends to be one, sometimes two, that come out every single Christmas. It's just part of the market. Well, but Black Christmas really is one of the best. It's a classic. It is a good horror movie. Forget about the Christmas aspect. It is just a good, well put together horror movie. If you've never seen this one and you have Shudder, it's the best and almost only option for a Christmas movie this year. Because this is the Flicks of the Week and I normally tell you about what's coming out in the theater, I'll just tell you real quickly, Mortal Engines looks really cool. It's produced by Peter Jackson. It looks amazing visually, and odds are when something comes out right at Christmas time and not another time of the year and not in the peak of the summer, it is a signal from the studio that they're confident in it. So I'll be surprised if this one is not at least worth going to see in the theater. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes out this week as well, which is an animated movie. I don't think it's going to do nearly as well as any of the other Spider-Man movies. It looks like something that might have been cool to come straight to streaming. I'm kind of surprised it's getting this holiday release. But who knows, we could get surprised. And then my top pick of the week is going to be The Mule, directed by and starring Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is in his early 90s. He appears to still be sharp as a tack in terms of his acting abilities and his directing abilities. That is a difficult job to get a movie made like that. He's still doing it. The Mule looks incredible. I would be reviewing it for the channel, but I've got a couple of Christmas parties I have to attend later this week, so I will not be doing a review of The Mule anytime soon. However, I do anticipate it to be good. If you're a fan of my recommendations, it is going to be your best bet for the theater this week. All right, and another one of my top picks on this list. On Amazon Prime, there is a movie called Rare Exports. Now, this one is foreign language. You are going to have to read subtitles. Like a lot of my foreign language recommendations, there's not a ton of dialogue in it. There's some necessary dialogue you are going to have to read, but this is a really cool one. It is basically a horror movie. The less you know about this one, the better. But this one is about a monster. It's basically about Santa Claus. I don't know. I don't want to say anything more. This one's got great visuals. It's a cool story. It's very different. It subverts your expectations for Christmas, but also supplies you with some of your expectations for Christmas. Really, really cool stuff. If you've never seen it and you like my recommendations generally, this is a really cool one to watch. It's a Wonderful Life is also on Amazon Prime. One of the best Christmas movies ever made, sort of, except for the fact that so much of this movie does not take place during Christmas. It really is an incredible message at Christmas time, and while it is not violent or sexual or anything like that, and you feel like you could let kids watch it, keep in mind the crux of the story is about a guy contemplating suicide and going through the reasons why he should not kill himself. So it's a heavy theme to deal with kids at Christmas, so you want to keep that in mind. Nevertheless, really one of the best. It's, I believe, the oldest one I've got on this list, but it's still so well worth watching every year. I watch it maybe every other year at Christmas time just because a couple of others supersede it. Daddy's Home 2 is a Christmas movie. I have not bothered to watch it, so I cannot recommend it, whether it's good or not. But if you just got to watch something that came out recently, Daddy's Home 2 is the newest release on this list, and it is a Christmas movie from what I understand. The Man Who Invented Christmas is another fairly new release. It just came out, I think, last Christmas. Christopher Plummer's in it, Dan Stevens. It's sort of about the creation of A Christmas Carol. So if you're a fan of A Christmas Carol, which I love that story. In fact, A Muppet Christmas Carol is one of my favorite tellings of that story. This is kind of a different take on it. So it could be worth watching again if you just want to watch something new. Not the best movie on this list, but definitely far from one of the worst Christmas movies you could watch. Another classic, Holiday Inn. Not particularly one of my favorites, but it is a classic a lot of people love. It also is on Amazon Prime. And then one a lot of people don't know about is a short animated piece called The Snowman. Now, this is based on a classic children's book. It's beautifully animated with like a colored pencil style. It's about a little boy that builds a snowman that comes to life, and they go on this like incredible journey. Really, really great one to watch with the kids. Some of the classic Christmas specials are really hard to come by on streaming services, I've found. And this is one that sort of like has flown under the radar for a really long time. So if you want to watch like a good little wholesome Christmas special and you can't find one, this would be a good one to turn to with the kids. All right, and on Netflix, The Christmas Chronicles is a new release. It is a Netflix original starring Kurt Russell as Santa Claus. Now, this one's sort of in the vein of movies like The Santa Claus. It's sort of like this adventure romp with sort of teens and Santa, but one of the better new release family-friendly movies you could watch. Christmas is all about family. Even if you don't have kids, this could be a good one to watch with the nieces and nephews when the Christmas visitations come around. So it is one of the better picks for Netflix right now. And the reason I say that is because the live action How the Grinch Stole Christmas is one of the other few decent Christmas movies that Netflix has right now, and I have never liked this. As a big fan of the animated classic, I just never liked what Jim Carrey did. I'm not necessarily bashing the movie, and I don't really have a critique of it because I've never been able to figure out why I don't like it. But something about this live action craziness, it just never worked for me. If I'm the only one, let me know in the comments. But if you've never liked this one either, let me know that as well. Love Actually is a classic Christmas movie. Not a particularly good movie in my estimation because it's almost like an anthology. You've got a bunch of stories that sort of are clunking into each other, and rather than telling them in sequence, it's all broken up. However, nice little date night movie, especially if you're in a new relationship and you're wanting to watch something at Christmas. This is sort of just one of those warm and fuzzy Christmas movies, although there is some infidelity mixed in with some of the stories and some other weird stuff, but chicks seem to dig this one, so if you're trying to have a nice little date night, Love Actually is actually a really good pick for Christmas. And then Netflix actually has Bad Santa 1 and 2. Now, I really hate the concept of these. You know, it just seems like a gimmick. It seems kind of dumb and silly. However, they're pretty good. I mean, Billy Bob Thornton actually does a good performance. His character as this crazy alcoholic Santa doesn't come across great in the trailers. It just looks like kind of cheap dick jokes and whatnot. And they're in there. But there is a little more heart to these movies than you would anticipate. And Billy Bob Thornton's performance runs a little deeper than it appears to at a first glance. So these are actually pretty good. However, do not watch these with family. Do not watch these with young kids. These are to watch by yourself or with a couple of fellow adults. But they are good Christmas picks. However, they're not as good as any of my rental recommendations. So normally I tell you about the newest releases coming to Blu-ray for the week, but for my Christmas list, I wanted to tell you about some of my absolute favorite movies to watch at Christmas every year. Just put a couple little seeds out there for things that you could rent or purchase if you really want to watch a great Christmas movie. So as far as Flick Connection is concerned, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It is super enjoyable to watch at Christmas. It's one of the best action movies ever made. The backdrop is Christmas, so you get the Christmas flavor, but you also get just a badass action movie. In fact, in this house, it is not considered officially Christmas until I see Carl Winslow tear into that Twinkie. A Christmas Story is one I have to watch every year, yet I never bother to own it or rent it because TNT runs it all damn day on Christmas Day. The cool thing about that story is you can really just pick it up anywhere, leave it to go do Christmas stuff, come back to it, and it totally works out of sequence for me. I've seen it that way for so long. I always enjoy, even if I can just catch 15 minutes of it at a time, it's always an enjoyable 15 minutes. So it is one of my favorites. However, it's not my absolute favorite, which I'll get to in a minute. But before that, another one that has probably flown under the radar that's great for kids is Arthur Christmas. Now, this is an animated movie. I've purchased it. It is a great one to watch. My son loved it. It's great for young kids. And as an adult, I enjoyed it as well. It shows sort of a different take on Santa delivering presents in the modern day. The animation's great. The style is pretty incredible. But just some of the cool little gags and stuff in it are really, really neat and fun to watch again as an adult. So if you never saw this one and you're looking for something different off the beaten path to watch with young kids, this is a great, great recommendation. My absolute favorite Christmas movie of all time, one that I genuinely watch every single year. Some of you have probably guessed it. It's Christmas Vacation. I love everything about this one. Just like with The Big Lebowski recently, I'm not going to just sit here and talk to you about Christmas Vacation. So instead, here are some of my absolute favorite moments from Christmas Vacation.
Bend over and I'll show you. You've got a lot of nerve talking to me like that, Griswold.
I wasn't talking to you. I was just smiling.
Shudder was full!
And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
So with that, I hope you enjoyed this special little Christmas episode. I may have one or two more special little things in store for Christmas, so stay tuned. Click the subscribe button, click that bell. But I will keep making videos just like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.